So I've been using exclusively slug shotguns as my special weapon in PvP for a couple months now, and I can honestly tell you, slug shotguns are some of the best special weapons in the entirety of Destiny 2 these days, and I really think you should be using them. Today we're going to discuss what makes slug shotguns so special, what the god rolls are, and finally I'll give you an answer about which slug shotgun is best in slot. Alright, let's go. Now that spread shotguns have been nerfed so many times and fusion rifles have been buffed, slug shotguns are filling a really interesting role in the PvP meta, sliding into a unique one-hit kill range right between spread shotguns and fusions. In addition to their value in getting a one-hit kill at very generous ranges, slug shotguns also don't receive the increased cone angle that spread shotguns receive when sliding because they simply don't fire a spread of pellets, just a single high damage slug. But on top of that, I think slug shotguns have now overtaken other special weapons in the current meta, largely thanks to their ability to finish fights. If you begin a fight with your primary weapon, which is what I would hope most people are doing, then slug shotguns are the best way to finish off your opponent at a generous range by just swapping to the slug and body shotting them from a mile away. Since slug shotguns do all their damage in a single bullet just like hand cannons, this means you have way more control over where you are directing your damage compared to spread shotguns. This allows slugs to punch way out of their weight class and kill opponents who are really not expecting such precise and high damage at those longer ranges. Of course, you can do some great work with spread shotguns, fusion rifles, and of course grenade launchers, but in the hands of a good player, slug shotguns absolutely have the potential to step above the rest. We've seen this exemplified across a multitude of top players from Ceridius to DFP to Cool Cheese to Drewski, and of course Glow with well over 20,000 duality kills, and so many more people who I could talk about all day, but slugs just keep coming to the table and absolutely killing it. They're kind of like grenade launchers. They've always been this good, but as other more powerful things faded away, it's become clear how good they have always been. After all those spread shotgun nerfs, slug shotguns have filled the spread shotgun shaped hole in our hearts that has opened up. But most PvP players are still all kind of used to playing with shotguns in a certain range, like relying on Fellrunner's Lie, killing at 7 meters, but that's just not the meta we're living in anymore, so we have to either change how we play or switch to slug shotguns. So what is the best slug shotgun out there? Well, if you've already mastered Duality or Chaperone and they fit into your builds, then you're kinda set because those two exotics are incredibly good in PvP. But in my playtesting, I was surprised to see that there are some legendary slug contenders that are giving Duality and Chaperone a run for their money these days. Plus, Chaperone and Duality are exotic, and who knows, maybe you have another exotic that you really enjoy running. And what's more, you can't put the Icarus grip mod on those exotic slugs, which is kind of a deal breaker for a lot of people. So today, we're going to set aside those two beautiful exotic slug shotguns, and we'll reference them as we go for a tangential comparison, but mainly the focus here is non-sunset legendary slug shotguns. So what makes an ideal slug shotty? Well, every slug is balancing range and aim assist, which are tied together, versus handling. These are the two most important stats for a slug shotgun since they dictate how fast you can operate and how far away you can get a one-hit kill, OHK, or get a successful cleanup, which is integral to the slug playstyle. Handling is easy to understand since it simply affects stow speed, draw speed, aim down sight speed, and then stow speed again. Well, maybe saying it simply does all that is misleading since all of those actions are incredibly important throughout every moment of PvP gameplay, but still, that's how handling works. Handling affects each of these actions, and higher handling makes each one of them faster. The animation you're seeing on screen is one I made for my friend Castle, who I edit videos for sometimes, or we come up with video ideas together, and just in general, I guess he's like my YouTube big brother. There's a link to this video of his in the description that explains in depth how to get high handling on your shotguns whether you're using spread or slug shotties, so maybe check that out after this vid. The reason I value handling so highly, and you should too, is because in endgame Destiny PvP, everyone moves extremely quickly. Engagements rapidly change from close to long range in seconds, and the players who will win the most engagements are those with high handling on their weapons because they can constantly have the right tool out for the job at the right time. But like almost everything in Destiny PvP, balance is what you should aim for. With slugs, you need to balance high handling with high range. Range is the other stat that matters the most to slugs since it dictates how far away you can OHK an opponent with a headshot. For many slugs, this caps out at around 11.5 to 11.9 meters. Shout out to my friend Feathers, who is a wonderful Discord mod in our community, who helped me test the ranges on all of these slug shotgun god rolls. Range is tied to accuracy and aim assist, which are two invisible mechanics affecting all weapons in Destiny. The way this translates to slug shotguns is that essentially at the end of the day, your slugs will go right where you're aiming if you have higher range. So if you have good aim, you will be rewarded with accurate slugs, and if you don't, you'll be more forgiven by the aim assisting wider for longer. After spending a couple months using only slug shotguns in PvP and testing out plenty of god rolls on my friends' accounts, I feel confident telling you which rolls are the best. Also, because this video took forever to make, supporting the channel however you see fit would be highly appreciated. But as we look at god rolls, it's important to know that there is always some personal leeway in Destiny weapons, so if you have a roll close to one of these that works nicely for you, don't let me stop you from using it. There's really something to be said for that personal feel. As we go through these, my perspective is as a competitive PvP player interested in consistency rather than slaying out, because I want my gun to feel amazing at all times rather than pretty good before a kill and then really good after a kill. I personally find that not having to think about those post-kill perks going on like Rampage or Swashbuckler makes me play a lot better, and I win more fights in the long run focusing on consistency over everything else. Alright, first up is Blasphemer, a kinetic shotgun that drops from Altar of Sorrow bosses on the moon, which is part of the Shadowkeep expansion. Blasphemer starts out with some pretty good range and pretty poor handling, so since our goal is to balance range and handling in every slug shotgun, we're going to go for a little more range on Blasphemer and a lot more handling. First up, for the Blasphemer god roll, let's improve our range a bit with a range masterwork, easy +10. After that, I'm recommending Fluted Barrel, our Lord and Savior, for the massive +13 handling boost and little stability bump, which is just such a generous dump of stat points that exceeds the cumulative benefits of the other barrels for stats we care about. You could also choose Hammer Forged here, but these two are the best by far. I personally prefer Fluted. Moving on to the magazine perks, Assault Mag is really nice for the increased fire rate since it makes double bodying someone really easy, and you can do this from such a long range away that it will really catch people off guard. If you get Accurize rounds here, that's the only other option I'd consider for a god roll. Me, I'm picking Accurize personally, but both are excellent. Moving on, Opening Shot is the pick for the fourth column. The huge 20 range and 20 aim assist granted by OS is huge. Your first kill is almost guaranteed if you have halfway decent aim. And sometimes to win a round in trials, survival, or just get out of a sticky situation, all you need is a single kill, and then 3.1 seconds later, OS resets, and you get those huge range and aim assist benefits once again. I think for that reason, Opening Shot is absolutely the top pick here, with Moving Target or Swashbuckler as very acceptable choices, but I don't believe they measure up to the benefit of Opening Shot on Blasphemer for competitive PvP. Finally, Hipfire Grip or Threat Detector are your best options in column 3. Hipfire Grip makes it much easier to land hipfire shots, which is actually really important sometimes if you don't have time to scope in, and coupled with Opening Shot, sometimes you can just dome someone without even aiming down sights, which feels amazing. As you practice, you can actually do this reliably too. Threat Detector is also amazing because of the massive 25% boost to your handling animation speeds whenever you are within 15 meters of one opponent. This compounds with Fluted Barrel to speed up your handling quite a bit. But to be honest with you, as I tested out these slug shotguns, Threat Detector was nice, but I found myself wanting to pull out my slug shotgun before people got within 15 meters of me. I didn't really expect this because I value Threat Detector so highly on spread shotguns, which you only want in your hands when people are closer than 15 meters. But on slugs, I was genuinely surprised that Threat Detector just wasn't coming into play as often as I thought it would. When it does come into play, the handling boost is really nice and it can save your life, but oftentimes I see an opponent at around 20 meters and I want to set up my shot so I can dome them when they ape in, or I want to slide in and I need the shotgun in my hands before Threat Detector is activated. So honestly, I might be in the minority here, but I would pick Hipfire Grip over Threat Detector and try to get my handling speed increased through armor perks. Surplus is also nice, but since I'm such a sucker for consistency and I don't ever want my handling speed to change, I'm not going to pick Surplus. For Blasphemer, I would go with Hipfire Grip if you can get high handling through your armor pieces like Ophidian Aspect or Dragon Shadow, but if not, Threat Detector is definitely the move to make up for that 60 handling stat. Of course, this is all assuming I'm using Blasphemer in the kinetic slot, and that's not going to happen, even though it's extremely good, not when our buddy Harry here exists. Heritage is incredibly good. Heritage is also a kinetic slug shotgun like Blasphemer, but it drops from the Deepstone Crypt raid, which is part of the Beyond Light expansion. The base stats on Harry are incredible, and what you can attain as you stack on perks is like the Hawk Moon of slug shotguns, just beefy full stat bars. It feels so good. I cannot recommend it highly enough. The potential here of a well-rolled Heritage in the hands of a good player is honestly terrifying. Pair this thing with an Adept Palindrome and profit. Looking at the perk options, you should get a Range Masterwork, Fluted Barrel, and Accurize rounds or Assault Mag, a timelessly perfect combination to give Heritage the stats to go toe-to-toe with the handling and range of exotics like Duality and Chaperone. Now, moving on to the third column, I know you see Slide Shot there, and I'm hungry for some Slide Shot too, but actually that would be overkill and certifiably not optimal to pick Slide Shot in this column because you already have nearly maximum range on Harry, and so you don't even need the added 20 range and stability from Slide Shot. So that's why you should get Hipfire Grip to give you a little more wiggle room in those tight situations when you just need to put out damage immediately to shut down a spread shotgun ape or clean up somebody running away. Onwards to the fourth column, Snapshot is definitely a good option because even though you have close to 100 handling on Harry, you can go above 100 handling with Snapshot, which is kind of cool. So if you like that feel, go for it, but I personally think it's overkill and I'm more than happy with the 90 handling on Harry. And yes, I see you there killing wind. If you like it, go for it, but in competitive PvP, those perks that activate after a kill are just not often something I find I can rely on or need. I would highly suggest you go for moving target here for the added plus 10 aim assist, which takes this slug above even duality and chaperone levels of aim assist. It's so sticky. Harry's cones just reach out from its barrel and grab your opponent's skulls for you. It's amazing. If you get this combination of perks and you have a decent energy primary to use, you are going to be a force to reckon with in PvP. Not to mention, it's one of the top picks for doing damage to bosses in PvE right now. I know I'm going to be farming this thing from Deepstone Crypt when I have time, which is great because I love DSC. Seriously people, Harry is just like another kinetic exotic slug shotgun, but for some reason it's masquerading as a legendary, so you can equip it with other exotics too. Okay, onwards, let's look at another Europa weapon and our first energy slug shotgun of the day, Bonechiller. I love Bonechiller for many reasons, but first of all, the look and sound of this one is just so good in my book, so that already makes it a top pick for someone shallow like me. But beyond that, it's actually really competitive if you build into it a little bit. Bonechiller might not look like much up front since it starts with 60 range and 40 handling. Ouch, that's less than some found verdicts. But if you add on a few of the best perk options here, like a range masterwork, fluted barrel, and accurized rounds, it's looking pretty nice. The best option in the third column is surplus to increase that handling, or firmly planted to make it really accurate when sliding, but I lean towards surplus here because I really want to get the handling up higher however I can, even though I'm not a fan of surplus's handling boost changing as you use abilities. Then in the fourth column, we have the MVP opening shot for the huge boosts to range and aim assist on that first kill, and then threat detector takes a close second place. Slideways is cool too, but you really don't need added handling and stability when sliding, especially compared to the benefits of threat detector and opening shot. This puts the Bonechiller god roll at a pretty good place to be honest, and here's the thing with Bonechiller, that aim assist is nice and high, and it rivals the 70 aim assist on Chaperone and 65 aim assist on Duality. So if you wear something like the Ophidian Aspect Gauntlets or the Dragon Shadow chest piece, which are two S tier choices for PvP and will probably be forever, then you can go for a rangy barrel choice on Bonechiller like Hammer Forged, and then you have an excellent range and aim assist package, and your handling is really quick because of your armor. So if you build into it, Bonechiller can hang with the big dogs, and it's basically just a legendary duality without the option to be a spread shotgun. That's why if you want to use an exotic primary hand cannon like Ace of Spades, Thorn, or Hawkmoon, which are extremely powerful choices, then Bonechiller is the best slug shotgun for you if you just build into it a little bit with high handling armor. You can farm Bonechiller directly by picking up quests for it at Varix on Europa. Moving on, there are two more energy slug shotguns to cover with some interesting perks. First up, first out, first in, last. Wait, it's Filo. Filo can get up to some nice range and handling, and it's definitely an energy contender to Heritage, but that aim assist stat is just rough. It's the lowest of any slug shotgun. If we throw in the standard range masterwork, fluted barrel, and assault mag are accurized, I'm personally going for accurized, we can get up to like 80 range and 80 handling, which is actually only a tiny bit less than our Lord above Heritage. In the third column, I'm going for slide shot for that massive 20 range boost and 50 stability, and I'm doing that because, sorry people, I'm not picking opening shot on this one, I'm picking Vorpal. Roast me if you will, but killing supers is one of the few healthy rushes you can still get in this world without compromising your health or those around you, and to make that happen, I want Vorpal. Your handling is already excellent with Filo, and then if you slide, your range jumps up to like 100, and if you have Vorpal, instead of backing up, you can turn and face that super and sometimes one-tap it, or put in like one hand cannon headshot first, and then stand in place, let the super come to you, and blow it into next Tuesday. In competitive PvP, supers win matches, whether we like it or not. If you can kill them, you can turn the tide in your favor. If that interests you, a Vorpal weapon Filo is the perfect tool for you. Then, all that's holding you back with Filo is your aim. That low aim assist will be noticeable, but if you have decent aim or you can learn, then Filo is the tool for you if you want to defend yourself against all the supers in this game. And if you'd rather have opening shot, that's fine too, and your aim assist on that first shot will be like 50, which is totally competitive. In that case, I'd go with hipfire grip and opening shot. All in all, I see Filo and Bonechiller as the endgame player's shotgun, someone who has mastered aiming in Destiny, doesn't really notice the low aim assist, and just wants a consistent energy slug with high range and handling that can decimate those pesky supers. In other words, this one's for the Svens of the world.
Yeah, if you aren't like immediately there, like from this spawn, oh, they're wait, how? Ben.
Damn. If you want to first and last out, give the gunsmith weapon parts, focus umbral engrams to be worldly drops at the umbral table in the helm, or just get lucky and have it drop randomly from any activity in the game. Or ideally, the gunsmith, Zur, or another vendor will just sell us a good roll of it soon. It's basically impossible to target farm Philo right now, but keep your eye out for a good roll because I think it's well worth it. Alright, for our final slug of the day, we have Sojourner's Tail, a newer energy slug in the game from Season of the Splicer. You can target farm this one using umbral engrams at the umbral oven in the helm, which is awesome. Sojourner's stats start out at a really nice place range and handling wise, so when we stack on the best masterwork and barrel perks, e.g. range masterwork, fluted barrel, and accurized or assault mag, we get some awesome stats here. I personally love Assault Mag on Sojo since the range is already great, but if you want to go accurized, I totally understand. Just know that when you stack Opening Shot, you are going overkill on a few points of range. That said, I think I might be in the minority on wanting Assault Mag here, so I'm going to click Accurized, though I do think both are excellent choices. Now, in the third column, I would say go Threat Detector to get close to 100 handling when one enemy is near, but I'm not a massive fan of Threat Detector on slugs, and honestly, Sojo already has really nice handling, so I'm happy with where it lands after only getting Fluted Barrel. Because of this, I'm recommending moving Target to make up for the pretty low 35 aim assist, which is kinda rough. In addition, I'd say go for Opening Shot, so on that first shot, you basically have 60 plus aim assist and almost 100 range, which feels incredible. This roll on Sojo is really nice, and for the player who wants an accessible slug that they can target farm, not have to build into like Bonechiller or rely on their own aim like Philo, and killing supers isn't your religion, then Sojo is the slug for you. As a quick side note before we move on, since slug shotguns and many other weapons in the game these days receive small benefits from adding range, it is totally acceptable to prioritize Assault Mag over Accurized rounds on all of these slugs, and I think it is totally fair to argue Assault Mag is better. I personally just find the RPM of slugs is fine, but it is really personal preference unless a slug is suffering from low range and needs to get up to that 12 meter cap. Okay, now comes my favorite part of these comparison videos, putting the god rolls head to head and seeing which is the king. When we stack up our god rolls here using Blasphemer as the baseline, it's easy to see that Heritage is just in a league of its own. It is the legendary chaperone duality. And if you need a kinetic slug for your PvP build, or you're open to picking a primary weapon based on the slug ranks here, then Heritage is the pick by far. Sorry Blasphemer, you have amazing stats, but Harry just takes the cake. Moving on to our energy options, the Godroll Bonechiller has a Heritage level range stat, which is awesome, but it really suffers in the handling department, so you need to either be okay with less range to make up for that abysmal handling, which I am not, so that means Bonechiller kind of needs you to run Ophidians or Dragon Shadow. If you do though, it'll be super nice. Moving on to the Godroll Philo and Sojo, they are neck and neck, except when it comes to aim assist, where Sojo wins by a good chunk. And keep in mind, the Sojo aim assist is actually even 10 higher than Philo here because of moving target when you aim down sights and the benefit of Opening Shot. But again, if you're just a cracked gamer who doesn't care about the aim assist and wants Vorpal Slide Shot for catching people off guard, Philo would be better here. So there it is folks, I am crowning our King Legendary Slug Shotgun as Heritage. Easily. Even without Opening Shot or Threat Detector, it is far and above the best slug. It is easily on par with the gods, Chaperone and Duality, and in some areas like Aim Assist, it's even better. If you prefer Chappy, it's still of course better than Heritage, but honestly, you could argue Harry's better just for the fact alone that it can socket the Icarus Grip mod for inner accuracy, which is honestly a deal breaker for most PvP players, and that's the reason I even choose Harry above Chappy when I use my Adept Palindrome or other energy slot primaries. But what if your favorite primary is a kinetic weapon or even a kinetic exotic weapon? In that case, go for Bonechiller if you run high handling armor like Ophidians, go for Philo if you like Vorpal or you're cracked or you already have a god roll and you don't want to pray to RNGesus. But those rules are a little niche in my opinion, and that's why I'm crowning Sojourner's Tail as the best energy legendary slug shotgun, if of course you get the god roll. While the aim assist stat looks painful at first, you can make up for that with moving target and Opening Shot, a shotgun targeting mod, and of course just having decent aim. Plus, the Godroll Sojo really comes close to Heritage levels of range and handling, but it can roll Opening Shot too. And the icing on the Sojourner shaped cake here is that it's very easy to farm it, which is huge in my book because, of course, that means you can actually get one in your hands to use. So there you have it, Heritage is your king slug, and Sojourner's Tail takes second place in the energy slot, for most people. Of course, you can make some nasty plays with any slug, but those rolls on those slugs rise above the others in my opinion. And also, it's worth mentioning that it made a big difference in me figuring out what the god rolls are, because I was able to test out each of these god rolls, or very, very close to them, thanks to some Discord friends. So huge thanks to Carbon, Cortani, Daedalus, Gabe the Grape, Zentatius, and Zyron for trusting me to test out your beautiful shotguns. Thank you. I feel like it still hasn't really caught on in the PvP community, but seriously, Slug shotguns are a top meta pick, especially in the hands of good players. Not to mention, they're just super fun to use. It's so satisfying to get those deep range one-hit kills or those cleanups, and when it comes down to it, Slug shotguns just have such a high skill ceiling that really rewards you if you learn it. And that's the thing, at the end of the day, slugs are good, yeah, so is Stasis, Dead Man's Tale, and Stag Empowering Rifts, but slugs are also just so fun to use. There's nothing quite like the feeling of hitting a nasty shot with a slug shotgun, and that's the reason I play Destiny, to have fun. Slugs fulfill that for me, and as a bonus, they're like the new best special weapon these days. Get your hands on some god rolls and you're going to be very happy, or maybe you already are. I hope this video was helpful or entertaining to you. It took a really long time to make, so please consider showing me if you liked it with a subscription or whatever you want to do, and thank you so much for your time. Alright, have fun out there. Catch you later. Bye.
We are in fact gaming.
Oh, that feels good.